Okay, so next on the show, I want to take a look at a brand new film that's out on VOD now. It's called Dirt Music. It's an Aussie film with an international cast. It's probably the best way that I can describe this film, and it roughly centers around three people. Georgie, played by Kelly MacDonald, who's in a loveless relationship, or should I say marriage, with Jim, played by David Wenham. Now, Jim, as a character, he is the head cray fisherman for a small Western Australian town. While there's nothing kind of alluded to that would suggest that he's a dangerous man, you kind of do get that feeling that he's quite dangerous and you don't want to double cross him. Certainly that's the case when we meet Lou, played by Garrett Hedlund, who we're first introduced to as stealing crayfish from Jim's crayfish pots. Now, Georgie and Lou have an instant connection. It's really easy to see that there is a bond there. Georgie's almost at a bit of a loss. She's come to Australia after meeting Jim in Bali. She was playing with his kids. He'd recently lost his wife, and they ended up getting together. But you can tell that her life here in Australia has never really been what she thought it was going to be. She's a trained nurse, but she never gets the opportunity to put any of those skills to good use. Even when one of Jim's crew members becomes injured out on the crayfish trawler, he doesn't allow her to get involved and to try and help them. But she instantly has this bond with Lou, and they end up sleeping together. Now, Lou himself has an interesting backstory. He is a gifted musician, but he hasn't performed since he lost his wife as well. But again, he feels this instant connection with Georgie, but after they start to get close, he realizes that he's really coming under danger from Jim, especially when Jim finds out that he's the poacher that's been stealing stuff from his crayfish pots as well. So Lou takes off, heads out to these islands just off Western Australia. But determined to find him, Georgia decides to follow him. Surprisingly, Jim decides to go with her. So it's a little bit of a weird story in a sense. And like we've found previously, some Tim Winton novels work really well on screen and some don't. And I had a little bit of a love-hate relationship with this film, I have to admit. I think I was expecting something a little bit more gritty from director Gregor Jordan, who's made some of my favourite movies over the years. Two Hands is one of my favourite Australian films of all time. He also directed, of course, the Ned Kelly story with Heath Ledger and Buffalo Soldiers Overseas. So I think I was expecting something just a little bit more gritty here. I thought he would have made Jim a little bit more menacing, but that doesn't really come across here. And it's one of those films where you find yourself constantly questioning why the characters are doing what they're doing. Like, I know it's kind of talked about in the film, but I still am not 100% sure why Jim decided to go with Georgie to hunt down Lou. I also feel that the screenplay doesn't give you enough about Lou being out on the islands to make you feel like he's in danger. I mean, we see him hit his head, we see him cut his foot, okay, but I think I wanted a little bit more in there about if he was in danger or not. There's a great ambiguous ending. Now, I don't know whether the director meant for this to be ambiguous, but I found it ambiguous because I'm not 100% sure what happened. What we saw happen on the screen is what really happened, so I kind of love that. What saved this film for me were the performances. Kelly MacDonald, Garrett Hedlund, David Wenham, all absolutely brilliant. I loved Aaron Pedersen's character of Beaver as well. Would love to have seen more of Beaver. I thought he was a really interesting character. I loved the music that was in it as well. A lot of great Aussie tracks in there. Julia Stone makes an appearance as well, so you've got some great music in there coming from her character as well. There's just so much that you can like about this film that even though there's bits about it that you're not 100% sure about, there's more than enough in there to to make you want to keep watching, I guess is the best way to say it. But the person who really, really comes out in front with this film is the cinematographer. Sam Chiplin brilliantly shows the Western Australian coastline. He has some absolutely magnificent shots, and if I'm really, really honest, he is probably the person that most saves this film, because his cinematography work is absolutely fantastic. Look, this is not going to be a movie that's going to be enjoyed by all. If you love your kind of romantic comedy kind of films, big blockbuster romantic comedies, I don't think this is going to be the film for you. This is more a love story for people that love films a little bit more on the alternative side. If you have loved films like The Lighthouse over the last 12 months, then this is going to be a film that you're going to enjoy. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. Like I said, it's a love-hate relationship at times with this film, but I did kind of find it enjoyable, so I'm going to give it 3 out of 5.